So Jessica Segall is a multidisciplinary artist working in vulnerable and queer ecologies. She exhibits her work internationally and is the current artist in residence at Caltech University. So,
Great.
today Jessica's going to talk to us about reverse alchemy. So yeah, fantastic. Over to you, Jessica.
Hi, and thanks, Catherine, for inviting me. And good morning for anyone else in Los Angeles here. So yes, I have a project to present to you that I've been working on since 2019, but ties into a longer history of working with mines and the toxicity of mining in the United States. So this project is called Reverse Alchemy. And it's basically a proposal to take all of the gold we've extracted and put it back into the earth. It's an absurdist proposal to do that, in line with the idea that Paracelsus would say that a dose makes the poison. So I'll show you some images. This is a still from a video that I would normally be sharing with you, but I know Zoom doesn't really work well with video works. But part of the process for this is a artistic process in which I collaborated with some scientists and researchers at different universities, and also resulted in a series of images and videos and exhibitions. So what you're looking at here, this is a gold coin from the US Mint from West Point Military Academy that's being dissolved in aqua regia. And this is a real-time video of basically gold from its imperial form into a dissolved context, which I've then kind of reduced to parts per million into a point where it's no longer toxic for plants and animals to consume. A couple things about gold that led to this, besides its toxicity, like thinking about gold in terms of sediment, is that it is we can only reach like 2 to 3 miles, I think, below the surface of the earth to mine all of the gold that's there. And most of the gold that's been mined has already been distributed across the surface of the earth, and it's just kind of cycled through different hands and points of power over history. Just going to start my timer. Okay. So currently, most of the gold in the world is held in the United States, about 7% in the Federal Reserve, and about 11% is held in households in India at the moment. But before, there were different empires that had gold. And because most of the gold has been extracted, it kind of slides laterally across the surface of the planet. Graham Harman writes about it in his text, Gold. And also, yeah, you can think about it as a hyper object, as something that is can't be defined by one place or time or situation. So this part of this project it started as a research project where I was invited by the Peruvian group Hawapi, which is an artistic research group, to stay in the mines, stay in a mine in Cajamarca. So here's an example of a mine. This is the Yanacocha mine. This is in the Peruvian Andes. And this is what has poisoned most of the local waters and devastated the community in the Andes here. This is not where we stayed. We stayed on the site of a proposed the Conga gold mine in the Cajamarca region, which has not been developed, but at this point the property has been purchased and is like you have to show a passport to get into the mine, but there's one particular woman that has prevented the mine from being built, and she is now an important, well-known activist, Maxima Acuna. And she didn't start out to become an environmental activist, but she basically had refused to sell her little plot of land in this very harsh environment on the top of the Andes, whereas the rest of the community was bought out to sell their mines. And it's basically prevented the mine from being built to this day. She is kind of constantly threatened still. This would be her home. Oh, you can't see it here, but I put it in because you can see now there's a number of security cameras that are on top of the home. And here is the group that was kind of sent. Oh, here you go. So here's the security cameras that you can see now on the top of her home here, and here is the group. Here I am that was sent to stay with her in part as security, but also in part as research. And kind of visiting this little kind of potato farm that's been able to resist the development of the mine has led to a major sorry, it's still 6 in the morning here. There's 7 o'clock in the morning, has led to a strong environmental movement within Peru. So what do I do as an artist when I'm there? I mean, physically, we can offer protection for her from the physical threats from the mining company. But this is where I started to think about reverse alchemy. And, as an artist, sometimes I just try to do things the wrong way and see what happens. And the wrong way would be that throughout history, alchemy is the idea of turning base metals into refined metals, right? But there's never really been an instance where there's been a desire to turn refined metals into base metals. And that's what I was kind of interested in at this farm where gold has no value, but shit has value. Fertilizer has value. So the first idea was to turn gold and turn it, kind of disperse it through fertilizer back into the land, which was more valuable, the black gold that they use. And the first kind of absurdist proposition was feeding gold to animals to kind of go to her property and make it more valuable than less valuable. So here we go. Here's an animal meal. And this is gold leaf. So it's 20, I forget, but exactly how much, but gold leaf that you'd be used to, put on sweets and put on very kind of luxurious goods. So it is edible, and I'm feeding this to the animals here. And then we work together on a performance piece and a documented piece where she's feeding golden apples to her horse in the Andes. And this kind of started as a series of photographs here. Actually, this is just a beginning. Oh, well, we'll go here. So after taking these photographs, I wanted to see actually how one might take gold that's been extracted and put it back into the stone from the mine. So I took a series of stones from the mine and was working with the University of Utah. There's a metallurgist there, York Smith, who was willing to work with me to kind of see in what ways we could dissolve gold, and basically through heating, crushing and reheating stone, we'd be able to kind of seal that gold back into the stone and replace it back into the mine. So instead of going through fertilizer and like animal and digestion and consumption, we could actually use heat and time to kind of recreate the original geologic processes of gold being put into the veins of corpse. So here are some examples of some of the little experiments that were done at the University of Utah's mining department. Here's a potato from Maxima's Campesito, and it's growing in diluted gold water. And as you can see up here, I have some videos of gold being dissolved and then kind of extracted through salts. And what was interesting to me is that they became landscapes again. They kind of mimicked the Peruvian Andes kind of through these scientific processes that were being filmed. And here is a example of the first scientific write-up on reverse engineering gold, where we talk about the process of dissolving the gold and then kind of seeing what was actually inside the stones that we had taken from the mine, and then kind of going through. Here, I start to talk about this new idea of phytoremediation. And not just phytoremediation in the mines, but also phytomining, which is a new proposal by several universities in using plants to kind of uptake basically the last scraps of gold that are being brought to the surface of the mine through harsher and harsher chemical processes. Um, so the video that I took and made in the University of Utah, just an interesting side text, this is it being projected on a billboard in Times Square, right when Corona started. So I thought that was interesting in the sense of you put something on a billboard and no one can see it, first of all, because it's COVID. And nobody is really, maybe you see four people walking in the middle of Times Square, but it also was a metaphor for the economy at that point when we talk about something that seems that can be very fluid, which is money and structures and social structures and economic structures dissolving in real time. A couple other presentations of how, oh, I see I'm running out of time. Here is a reenactment of the horse eating the gold, where I used gold leafed hay. And this is in my gallery in France, La Borie. This was a performance. And then I kind of went back to the drawing board and thinking about how to put gold back in stone. I had been using kilns and different glass facilities in the University of Oregon. But really, the metal shop is where I was able to actually melt stone. So here is basically gravel that I purchased from a mine in Montana that I've been able to heat up in a speedy melt and pour into sand. So this is melted stone, kind of recreating a lava flow in which I've also placed gold back into the stone. And this is at the University of Miami's metal shop, which I was then able to anneal over a series of time to cool it slowly to create a number of different stones. So kind of new stones that have been recreated, placing the gold back into the stone. A couple pieces here are also inflated. So this is basically stone is glass with the amount of silica. So I was able to use a number of different glaze techniques in order to kind of make the stone less fragile by adding like other elements to the melted stone to kind of like ease its like adding flux to ease its flow, but then adding hardener that would give it tensile strength after it was used. And because stone is mostly shares a lot of properties with glass, I was also able to kind of create these blown glass forms from the melted gravel here. So this is represented in a jewel box and is part of a larger installation that I made of this work, which was in Miami. This is Locust Projects, a nonprofit space in Miami in the design district. And for here, I have planted, if I can show you, a number of the plants that have been kind of proven to uptake gold, right? So this isn't remediation. This is, in the sense, you could use plants for remediation of toxic materials, but you can also use them to kind of uptake refined materials. So I've basically created a cycle in this installation where these different plants, such as mustard, wild grapes, plantain, horsetails, and what is this? Hyacinth bean, are all sort of growing on soil that I have added gold to, and they are uptaking the gold from the soil as they're growing. Here is a example of some of the melted or dissolved gold to parts per million that I'm using to water this installation. And one more image from that show. This is a tank. This is a water hyacinth, which is an invasive species in Florida that I've kind of placed inside this tank. And again, inside the tank is dissolved gold, and you can see that the plant is still thriving in that environment. So again, this is something which I see as an absurdist proposal, but proposed not only because of the toxicity of gold itself, but the toxicity of human nature when it perceives something of such value that it's been that it brings out the toxic nature within ourselves. And this should be is a book that I'm working on to be published in the next year or two with K Verlag publishers in Berlin.